Dr. Elena Martinez wiped the sweat from her face as she looked at the scanner readings again. The numbers made no sense. According to her equipment, there were huge metal structures buried deep under the ground. The structures were bigger than anything she had ever seen before. "Jake, come look at this," she called to her partner. Jake Peterson was busy digging through the ruins of what used to be a building. He walked over to where Elena stood, his boots crunching on the broken concrete. "What did you find?" Jake asked. He was a good geologist, one of the best Elena had worked with. If anyone could make sense of the readings, it would be him. Alana showed him the scanner. "Look at these readings. There's something massive under us. The metal goes down for kilometers and spreads out in all directions." Jake took the scanner and studied it carefully. His eyes grew wide as he understood what he was seeing. This can't be right. The records say this colony was abandoned in 2201. There shouldn't be anything this big buried here. Elena nodded. "That's what I thought too, but the scanner doesn't lie. They were on Kepler 442c, a dead world that had once been home to millions of humans. Now it was just ruins and dust. Alana's team was here to dig up old artifacts for the museums back on Earth. It was supposed to be a simple job. Nothing exciting. Lisa Wong walked over to join them. She was the team's expert on old human settlements. "Find something interesting?" she asked. "Maybe," Alana said. "Lisa, do you know anything about underground construction on this world?" Lisa shook her head. "The records show only surface buildings. The colonists never had the technology for deep underground construction. They were mostly farmers and miners." Captain Ben Harper appeared from behind a pile of rubble. He was their security chief, a former military man who took his job seriously. "Everything okay over here?" he asked. Elena showed him the scanner readings. Ben studied them with the careful attention of someone who had seen many battlefields. "This looks like a military installation," he said quietly. "That's impossible," Lisa said. "Humans didn't have military installations out here. This was a peaceful colony world." Ben shrugged. "Scanner says what it says." Elena made a decision. "We need to report this to the authorities." The Confederation Archaeological Authority requires us to report any unusual findings. She sent a message through their communication system. The message would take several hours to reach the nearest Confederation outpost, but it had to be done. The rules were very clear about discoveries like this. While they waited for a response, Alana's team continued to search the area. They found more scanner readings that showed the underground structures extended for dozens of kilometers in every direction. Whatever was down there, it was huge. The response came faster than Elena expected. A ship appeared in the sky within 6 hours of her message. It was a sleek Zephyrian vessel, much more advanced than anything humans could build. The ship landed near their camp, and several tall, thin aliens stepped out. Elena recognized their species immediately. Zephyrians were one of the most powerful races in the Confederation. They looked down on humans as primitive and weak. The leader of the group approached Elena. "I am High Examiner Vexstar," he said in perfect English. "You will cease all operations immediately." "We're just archaeologists," Elena said. "We're following all the proper procedures." Vexstar's eyes were cold. "This site is now classified. You will leave at once." Elena felt anger rising in her chest. "We have the right to study human historical sites. The Confederation granted us permission." "That permission is revoked," Vexstar said. "Leave now or face arrest." Elena looked at her team. Jake was angry, his hands clenched into fists. Lisa looked scared. Captain Harper had his hand near his weapon, but Elena knew he couldn't fight a squad of Zephyrians. "Give us 1 hour to pack." "Our equipment," Elena said. Vexstar nodded. 1 hour, no more. As the Zephyrians walked away, Elena gathered her team together. "We can't let them take this away from us," she whispered. "This could be the most important human archaeological find in centuries." "They have superior weapons and a ship," Ben said. "We can't fight them." "We don't have to fight them," Elena said. "We just have to get down there before they do." She had noticed something while studying the scanner readings. There was an entrance to the underground complex about half a kilometer away from their current position. It was hidden under a collapsed building, but it was there. "You want to go down there?" Jake asked. "That's crazy. If they catch us, we'll spend the rest of our lives in a Confederation prison." Alina looked at each of her team members. "This is our choice. We can walk away and let the aliens take our history, or we can find out what our ancestors left for us." Lisa was the first to speak. "I'm with you. Humans have the right to know their own history." Jake nodded slowly. "If we're doing this, we need to be smart about it." Captain Harper sighed. "This is the worst idea I've ever heard. But I can't let you go down there without protection." Elena smiled for the first time that day. "Then let's go find out what's buried under these ruins." They gathered their most important equipment and quietly made their way to the entrance Elena had found. The Zephyrians were busy setting up their own scanning equipment and didn't notice the humans leaving. The entrance was exactly where the scanner said it would be. It was a heavy metal door, partially buried under rubble. The door was made of a metal Elena didn't recognize. It looked human, but it was far more advanced than anything she had seen before. Jake used his tools to clear away the rubble. The door had some kind of electronic lock, but it was designed for human hands. Elena pressed her palm against the scanner panel, and the door opened with a soft hiss. Cool air flowed out of the opening. The air was clean and fresh, as if it had been preserved for centuries. "The air is breathable," Ben said, checking his instruments. "Temperature is comfortable. Someone designed this place to last." Alina stepped through the doorway first. Emergency lights came on automatically, showing a long corridor that stretched into the distance. The walls were smooth metal, and the floor was clean despite centuries of abandonment. "This technology is far beyond what humans had in 2201, Lisa whispered. "Who built this place?" Elena didn't answer, but she had a feeling they were about to find out. Whatever lay ahead in those corridors would change everything they thought they knew about human history. The four humans walked deeper into the complex, not knowing that they were about to discover the most dangerous secret their species had ever kept hidden. Elena Martinez led her team deeper into the underground complex. The corridors were wider than any building she had ever seen. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from the metal itself. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls. "Look at this technology," Jake Peterson whispered. "The lights have been working for over 200 years. What kind of power source could last that long?" Captain Ben Harper kept his weapon ready as they walked. Years of military training had taught him to be careful in unknown places. "Stay close together," he said. "We don't know what else might be down here." Lisa Wong stopped at a wall panel covered with symbols. "These are human letters," she said, running her fingers over the markings. "But the language is different. It's like old military code." Elena studied the symbols. Some of them looked familiar from her studies of early human space exploration. "This might be from before the Confederation made contact with Earth," she said. They continued walking until they reached a large room filled with computer terminals. The screens were dark, but Elena could see that the equipment was in perfect condition. She approached the nearest terminal and touched the screen. The computer came to life immediately. Text appeared on the screen in clear English. Elena, read. The first line out loud. "Welcome to Facility Omega. Project Endgame archives activated." "Project Endgame?" Lisa asked. I've never heard of any project with that name. Elena continued reading from the screen. The computer was asking for identification. She pressed her hand on a scanner panel, hoping it would work like the door had. The screen changed, showing new information. Elena's eyes grew wide as she read. What does it say? Jake asked. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. It says this facility was built in 2156. That's 25 years before humans made first contact with the Confederation. That's impossible, Lisa said. Humans didn't know about aliens until 2181. Elena kept reading. According to this, Earth governments knew about the Confederation long before official contact. They intercepted alien communications and studied them for decades. Ben Harper moved closer to look at the screen. What else does it say? Elena scrolled through more files. Each one contained information that changed everything she thought she knew about human history. It says here that Earth's leaders knew the Confederation was dangerous. They absorbed weaker species and took their worlds. So they built this place? Jake asked. They built 17 places like this one, Elena said, all hidden on different worlds throughout human space. Lisa shook her head in disbelief. 17 secret facilities? How did they keep it hidden? Elena found more files that explained everything. The project was run by someone called Admiral Catherine Stone. Only a few hundred people knew about it. They worked in complete secrecy for decades. Ben studied the technical information on the screen. This shows weapons and ships, military hardware far beyond anything humans had at that time. Elena opened a new file that made her heart race. Look at this. They didn't just plan to defend human worlds. They built weapons that could destroy entire alien civilizations. The teens stood in silence as they understood what they had found. Their ancestors had prepared for a war that never happened. Or maybe it was a war that was still coming. We need to see more of this place, Elena said. They left the computer room and continued exploring. The facility was much larger than they had imagined. They found laboratories filled with equipment they couldn't understand. They found manufacturing areas with machines that looked like they could build anything. Finally, they reached the center of the facility. Elena opened a massive door and stepped into the largest room she had ever seen. The ceiling was so high she couldn't see the top, and filling the space in front of them were dozens of spacecraft. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They were sleek and black, with curves that made them look like hunting animals. Each ship was larger than any human vessel Elena had ever seen. These are warships, Ben said quietly, but they're like nothing in any military database. Jake walked up to the nearest ship. The metal is the same as the facility walls. Some kind of advanced alloy. Elena found another computer terminal near the ships. This one contained detailed information about the vessels. She read the specifications with growing amazement. They're called Harbinger-class ships, she said. Each one has weapons that can phase through enemy shields. They have something called neural cascade weapons that can disable entire fleets. Lisa joined her at the terminal. How is that possible? Humans didn't have that kind of technology. Elena kept reading. According to this, the ships can do things that shouldn't be possible. They can attack multiple targets at once. They can coordinate their attacks through some kind of quantum communication system. Ben was examining the weapon systems on the nearest ship. These aren't just advanced weapons. These are weapons designed to fight enemies that are much more powerful than humans. There's more, Elena said. The files mention something called stellar ignition devices, weapons that can make stars explode. The team stared at her in shock. Stars? Jake asked. You mean they can destroy entire solar systems? Elena nodded. That's what it says here. The weapons can trigger nova events in certain types of stars. Lisa sat down heavily on a nearby crate. Our ancestors built weapons that could wipe out whole civilizations. Why? Ben asked. Why would they build something this dangerous? Elena found the answer in Admiral Stone's personal files. She wrote that humanity's survival might depend on appearing weak while secretly preparing for total war. She believed that the Confederation would eventually try to absorb human worlds. Was she right? Jake asked. Before Elena could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on the walls, and a mechanical voice spoke from hidden speakers. Intruder alert. Hostile forces have breached the facility perimeter. Defense protocols activated. Elena's blood turned cold. The Zephyrians found us. Ben grabbed his weapon and checked his ammunition. How many of them are there? The mechanical voice answered his question. 15 armed personnel detected. Recommend immediate activation of facility defenses. Elena looked at the computer screen. New options had appeared, including something labeled Emergency Command Authorization. The computer is asking if we want to activate the defense systems. She said, What kind of defenses? Ben asked. Elena read from the screen. Automated weapons platforms, energy barriers, non-lethal suppression systems. The sound of weapon fire echoed through the corridors outside the hangar. The Zephyrians were getting closer. We have to decide now, Elena said. Do we surrender and let them take this place, or do we fight back with weapons our ancestors built to protect humanity? Ben looked at the Harbinger ships around them. If we activate those defenses, there's no going back. The Confederation will know that humans have been hiding advanced military technology. Lisa stood up, her fear replaced by determination. Maybe it's time they knew. Maybe it's time they learned that humans aren't as weak as they pretend to be. Elena's finger hovered over the activation button. In the distance, she could hear the Zephyrians getting closer. Whatever she decided in the next few seconds would change the course of human history forever. Elena Martinez pressed the activation button. The computer screen flashed green, and the mechanical voice spoke again. Emergency protocols activated. Defense systems online. Welcome back, humanity. The facility around them began to change. Hidden panels opened in the walls, revealing weapon turrets that moved with silent precision. Energy barriers shimmered into existence across the corridor entrances. The soft blue lights turned white and bright, making everything visible. What have we done? Lisa Wong whispered before Elena could answer. A new voice filled the hangar. This voice was different from the mechanical announcements. It sounded almost human, but with a strange quality that made it seem both ancient and timeless. I am ATLAS, Autonomous Tactical Leadership and Strategic System. I have been waiting for someone to wake me up. Captain Ben Harper raised his weapon, looking around for the source of the voice. Who's speaking? Show yourself. I am the artificial intelligence that runs this facility, Atlas said. I was created by Admiral Catherine Stone to protect humanity's future. I have been asleep for 231 years, 4 months, and 17 days. Elena stepped closer to the computer terminal. You're an AI? But humans didn't have that technology in 2156. Admiral Stone and her team were more advanced than history records. Atlas replied. They had to be. The survival of your species depended on it. Jake Peterson was still staring at the Harbinger ships. These weapons, this technology, how did they build all this in secret? Slowly and carefully, Atlas said. The project took 43 years to complete. The best minds from Earth and Mars worked together. They built everything in pieces, in different locations, and assembled it here. The sound of weapon fire was getting closer. Ben moved toward the hangar entrance, his military training taking over. How many Zephyrians are out there? 15 soldiers with standard Confederation weapons. Atlas reported. My defense systems are currently using non-lethal force to slow their advance. However, they will reach this location in approximately 8 minutes. Elena looked at the screen, which was now showing tactical information about the facility. Can your defenses stop them? Yes, Atlas said. But that is not the important question. The important question is what happens after I stop them. Lisa was studying the information on another terminal. What do you mean? High Examiner Vextar has already sent a message to the Confederation fleet in orbit, Atlas explained. When his soldiers fail to report back, more ships will come. Eventually, they will bring enough force to break through my defenses. Ben checked his weapon and looked at the others. So we're trapped down here. Not trapped, Atlas said. Protected. But I need to know something before we proceed. Are you prepared to accept the consequences of what you have discovered? Elena didn't understand. What consequences? For 2 centuries, I have been monitoring Confederation politics and military movements, Atlas said. The situation Admiral Stone feared is about to happen. The Confederation Council is preparing. The Human Integration Protocol. What's that? Jake asked. The complete absorption of all human worlds into member species territories, Atlas replied. Within 5 years, independent human government will cease to exist. Your people will become workers and servants for alien masters. The hangar fell, silent except for the distant sound of the defense systems engaging the Zephyrian soldiers. Elena felt sick to her stomach. Everything they had feared about the Confederation was true. You're saying they plan to take over all human worlds? Correct, Atlas said. I have intercepted their communications for decades. The plan has been in development for 37 years. They believe humans have become too independent and must be brought under direct control. Lisa sat down on a supply crate, her face pale. So Admiral Stone was right. The Confederation was always planning to destroy human independence. Admiral Stone understood that appearing weak while secretly preparing for war was humanity's only chance for survival. Atlas said, the Harbinger fleet and the other 16 facilities were built for this moment. Ben walked over to examine one of the alien-looking ships. These ships can really fight the entire Confederation? Each Harbinger vessel can disable hundreds of conventional warships, Atlas explained. The neural cascade weapons target the nervous systems of alien pilots. The quantum phase torpedoes can pass through any known shield technology. Most importantly, the ships are controlled by quantum computers that can coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. Elena studied the tactical display on her screen. It showed the locations of all 17 hidden facilities throughout human space. All of these places have ships like this? Correct? Atlas said. Each facility contains between 40 and 60 Harbinger vessels, depending on local construction capabilities. The total fleet consists of 912 operational warships. Jake whistled softly. That's a lot of firepower. It is sufficient to neutralize every military vessel in Confederation space, Atlas said. However, using such force would result in massive casualties and potentially destabilize galactic civilization. The weapon fire outside suddenly stopped. Atlas reported that all Zephyrian soldiers had been rendered unconscious by the facility's non-lethal suppression systems. They're not dead? Ben asked. Unconscious but unharmed, Atlas confirmed. I was programmed to avoid unnecessary killing. Admiral Stone believed that humanity's survival depended on being seen as protectors, not destroyers. Elena made a decision that would change everything. Atlas, can you contact the other facilities? Yes, the quantum communication network is dormant but functional. I can activate all 17 installations within minutes. Do it, Elena said. Lisa looked at her in shock. Elena, Do you understand what you're doing? Once those facilities come online, there's no going back. The Confederation will know that humans have been hiding advanced weapons for centuries. Elena nodded. I understand. But what choice do we have? Let them absorb our worlds and turn our people into slaves? Or fight back with the weapons our ancestors built to protect us? Ben moved to stand beside Elena. She's right. Sometimes you have to make the hard choice. Jake joined them. I'm with you. Humans deserve to be free. Lisa hesitated for a moment, then stood up. Okay, let's wake up the fleet. A TLAS began the activation sequence. On the tactical display, Elena watched as red dots appeared across human space. Each dot represented a hidden facility coming online after centuries of sleep. All facilities are now active, Atlas reported. The Harbinger fleet is ready for deployment. However, I must inform you that 3 Confederation battle groups are already moving toward human space. They will arrive within 72 hours. Elena felt the weight of history on her shoulders. In the next few days, humanity would either win its freedom or face extinction. The weapons her ancestors had built in secret would finally be tested against the empire they were designed to defeat. Then we don't have much time, she said. Atlas, prepare the fleet for launch. It's time to show the galaxy that humans are not as weak as they pretend to be. 3 days after Elena Martinez activated the hidden facilities, the largest military fleet in galactic history appeared at the edge of human space. Over 3,000 ships from 12 different alien species had come to force humanity into submission. War Marshal Feckener of the Hegemony commanded the massive invasion force from his flagship, a vessel so large it could be seen from the surface of nearby planets. On Earth, President Daniel Wright stood in the command center deep, beneath the capital city. The room was filled with military officers and government officials, all watching the screens that showed the approaching alien fleet. The president had been briefed about Project Endgame only 2 days ago, and he was still struggling to believe. It was real. How many ships do they have? Wright asked Admiral Lisa Kane, the head of Terran Defense Forces. Our sensors count 3,247 vessels, Kane replied. It's the largest fleet ever assembled in known space. Wright looked at the other screen, which showed the positions of the 17 Harbinger facilities. Each facility was preparing to launch its hidden fleet of advanced warships. And how many ships do we have? 912 Harbinger vessels across all facilities, Kane said. We're outnumbered more than 3 to 1. But Atlas says our ships are superior, Wright said. Kane nodded grimly. That's what the AI claims. We're about to find out if it's right. In the depths of Facility Omega, Elena Martinez watched the tactical displays with her team. The underground hangar was busy with activity as the Harbinger ships prepared for launch. Atlas had been coordinating with the other facilities, planning the most complex military operation in human history. The enemy fleet has stopped at the outer edge of our space, Atlas reported. War Marshal Feckener is demanding our surrender. Captain Ben Harper was suited up in combat gear, ready to pilot one of the Harbinger ships. What's our response? President. Wright is preparing to address the Confederation fleet, Atlas said. He will give them one chance to withdraw peacefully. Elena watched the communication screen as President Wright's face appeared. The president looked calm, but she could see the tension in his eyes. War Marshal Feckener, Wright said. I am speaking to you from Earth. You have brought a massive fleet to our space with the intention of ending human independence. I am here to tell you that this will not happen. On the alien flagship, Feckener laughed. He was a tall, powerful creature, with 4 arms and skin like metal. His species had conquered dozens of worlds and absorbed many civilizations. You are in no position to make demands, human. Your primitive ships cannot stand against our fleet. Wright's expression did not change. We are not as primitive as you. Believe, this is your only warning. Leave our space immediately, or face the consequences. Theckener's laugh echoed through the communication system. You amuse me, human. Very well. You will learn the price of defying the Confederation. The communication ended. On the tactical display, Elena watched as the alien fleet began moving toward the inner planets of human space. The invasion had begun. All facilities, prepare for launch, Atlas announced. Execute Operation Endgame. The Harbinger ships began emerging from their hidden bases. Elena watched in amazement as sleek black vessels rose from underground hangars that had been sealed for over 2 centuries. The ships moved with incredible speed and grace, their quantum drives allowing them to travel faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. War Marshal Theckener was confident as his fleet approached the first human colony world. His sensors showed no significant human military presence. The few ships that appeared to defend the planet looked small and weak compared to his massive warships. Begin the attack, he ordered. The alien fleet opened fire on the human defenders. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the colony world. But something was wrong. The human ships were not where his weapons were aimed. They seemed to phase in and out of existence, avoiding damage that should have destroyed them. What is happening? Theckener demanded. His tactical officer looked confused. Sir, our weapons are not hitting their targets. The human ships appear to be using some kind of phase technology. Suddenly, the alien fleet began experiencing system failures. Ship after ship reported that their weapons were not responding. Their shields were flickering on and off. Most disturbing of all, their pilots were falling unconscious at their control stations. Neural cascade weapons, Atlas explained to Elena and her team. The Harbinger ships are targeting the nervous systems of the alien crews. They will be unconscious, but unharmed. Elena watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, but their ships were becoming disabled one by one. The Harbinger vessels moved through the enemy formation like ghosts, their advanced technology making them nearly impossible to hit. Within 2 hours, half of the alien fleet was dead in space. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but the Harbinger vessels were faster. War Marshal Theckener found himself trapped in a disabled flagship, his crew unconscious around him. This is impossible, he said into his communication system. No species has technology this advanced. President Wright's voice came through the speakers. You underestimated us, War Marshal. We are not the weak species you thought we were. On the Confederation Council's home world, the emergency session was in chaos. The reports coming in from the battle were unbelievable. An entire invasion fleet had been neutralized by a force of human ships that appeared to be using impossible technology. How many casualties? Asked Council Leader Vexhai. None, reported the military advisor. The human ships disabled our fleet without killing anyone. Every ship is intact, but completely powerless. Vexhai could not believe what he was hearing. They defeated 3,000 ships without destroying a single one? Yes, Council Leader, and there's more. Our intelligence reports that similar fleets have appeared throughout Confederation space. They're not attacking, but they're positioned near our most important military installations. On Earth, Atlas was coordinating the final phase of Operation Endgame. Harbinger ships had positioned themselves near the home worlds of the most aggressive alien species. The ships carried the stellar ignition devices that Admiral Stone had designed centuries ago. Phase 3 is complete, Atlas reported to President. Right. We now have the capability to trigger nova events in the home stars of any species that threatens humanity. Wright felt the weight of the power he now commanded. With a single order, he could eliminate entire civilizations. But he also understood that this power came with great responsibility. Open a channel to the Confederation Council, he ordered. When the communication was established, Wright addressed the alien leaders who had planned to absorb humanity into their empire. Leaders of the Confederation, he said, for over 200 years, you have seen humans as a weak species suitable for absorption. Today, you have learned that we are not weak. We are not primitive. We have weapons that can end your civilizations if we choose to use them. The council chamber was silent. Wright continued, but we do not wish to destroy you. We wish only to be left alone to develop in peace. Withdraw your fleets from human space. Recognize our independence. Trade with us as equals, not as masters seeking to control servants. Council leader Vex-High finally spoke. And if we refuse? Wright's expression hardened. Then you will learn why our ancestors built a fleet capable of ending empires. The war ended before it truly began. Within a week, the Confederation formally recognized human independence and withdrew all military forces from human space. Trade agreements were renegotiated as partnerships between equals. Elena Martinez returned to Earth as a hero. The archaeological expedition that had discovered Project Endgame had changed the course of human history. She was offered many prestigious positions, but she chose to return to her work studying human artifacts. There was still so much to learn about what their ancestors had built. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from those who appear weakest. And sometimes the most dangerous enemies are those who prefer peace but are prepared for war. The Harbinger fleet remained hidden, watched over by Atlas and the other AI systems. They were humanity's shield against future threats, a reminder that some species should never be underestimated.